Hey, what's going on? I want to explain the drawn liquidity here. So let me go to the corresponding pairs. This is gasoline. Let's see, DJ. Let me go back to oil. What I'm trying to explain is that it closed above here, so it closed above here, so the drawn liquidity would be up here, right? It took that here on Friday. It failed. It went above this high, failed to close above it. So it opened above it, closed bearish. So that means that the draw would be down here, that wick, right? I'm going to explain why it failed down here and why it's going to fail at 50% or 80% of the wick. Okay, that's just patterns, but let's go down to the structure because I understand the structure. I'm going to explain why it failed. Okay, because right now, if you see, it's up here. It took Friday's high, but based on the structure and the way we teach it, it would fail down here. It would have took that wick low. So people like, man, I thought stuff you teach, it's supposed to take out the wick low. Well, you have to understand the structure. If we go down to the 5-minute chart, it failed at something ICT teach called a bearish breaker. Okay, that's why I think it's important to understand his teachings or use supply and demand and support and resistance and be a real student with it. See right here, you see this low right here that was taken out? You have to look at the highest up close candle, but really the breaker is here. That's why you see it stopped right here at this wick here, because you got a low, a high, and a lower low. Price took the low. So either the highest up close candle is where price is going to stop at usually, or really it's going to take the lowest one, the lowest breaker, because this is a breaker, and then you have this one here. You got a low, a high, and a lower low. So the highest up close candle is important. And you see it stopped right there. So if we see a breaker, then that's why it stops at 50 to 60, 70, 80% of the wicks is because of that breaker. Also, okay, and you see it's literally stopped right there. I'm explaining the structure to you because I'm not some pattern person and all that bullshit. I took time to understand how this shit works. So let's go back to the daily. All right, now the reason it's pushing up now is because you have to go on a higher time frame to the weekly. If you look at the weekly here, it closed above last week's high. So the draw would be up here, see? And that's why it's pushing up now. So you have to go on a higher time frame. And for the weekly, the color I use is blue. So hold on. You see, so because I was getting confused a little bit, I was like, well, damn, it's supposed to take out this low down here because red is the daily drawn liquidity. Remember the long wick it had, but it stopped at that breaker right there that I just explained. That's what that green line is right there. Price stopped at this bullish breaker right here because you got a low, a high, and a lower low. So the last up close candle is where, that's why it fails at 50% or 70, 80% of those wicks. It's because of the breakers. It's not just a pattern. And so I was thinking like, well, if it's going to stop at that breaker right there, if it's going to stop at this breaker right here, then maybe it's going to come down to its stop because it's not going to take this low because that's the drawn liquidity for the day based on candlestick pattern analysis, but the structure is king. I said, maybe it's going to stop at this breaker and then take out last week's high. And that's what it's doing here. So I'm just explaining that. Okay, so what I did was the market opened here. When it went up here, I went short right on this big push up here. Okay, you see that red line? That's why I went short at. So I went short, I got out here, and I got out there. I wish I would have got back in for a buy here, but I didn't trust it. I was like, well, maybe I'm seeing it wrong, even though this is a breaker, a bullish breaker right here. But, that's why you just got to watch and see. But that's why it stops at those wicks. Thanks for watching.